So Apple's April event has just happened. And the good thing is that Apple has pretty much given us everything we wanted and expected from the event. And in that great spirit, here's a quick recap of all the new products that Apple has launched at the April Spring Loaded event, and more importantly, my ultimate review. First of all, there's a new model of the iPhone. Well, it's a different color. The iPhone 12 now comes in purple. That's it. Well, this is stupid. This doesn't count. First of all, there is the AirTag, probably the most leaked product in the history of Apple. Literally everything we expect from the AirTag has come true. The design features polished stainless steel at the front, and by connecting to a crowdsourced Find My network made up of all of the iOS and iPadOS devices around the world, the location of these AirTags can be tracked. AirTag also features precision finding with iPhone 11 or later with the help of the U1 chip with ultra-wideband. These are just all the things we've come to expect because of all the rumors circulating about the AirTag. So in kind of a counterintuitive way, if you want to know about all the inner workings of the AirTag, you should check out my preview video of the AirTag, and you'll have all the answers there. For now, we're going to move on to the price because the AirTag itself is actually surprisingly inexpensive at just $29 per. If you've watched my video last week, you would know that Apple has launched its Find My network with another item tracker called Chipotle OneSpot, and that tracker costs $25. At first glance, the AirTag seems like a pretty great deal because with $4 extra, you get ultra wideband and therefore precision tracking, which is something not available on the Chipotle OneSpot. The setup process is just easier as well because Apple oversees the whole industrial design of the AirTag. But then, if you look more closely, you will find that the Chipotle OneSpot comes with a little hole with which you can connect to your keys, your bag, your dog, or whatever. On the contrary, AirTag comes with a peripheral of accessories because it simply doesn't have a hole to connect to other items with. And those Apple offerings are not cheap. The cheapest one from Apple is called the AirTag Loop, which costs you £29 or $29, which is essentially the same as you buying another AirTag. And then there's the leather keyring at £35 and a leather loop at £39, which are more expensive than the AirTag itself. And then, God forbid, there's the Hermes series ranging from £249 to £399, which is just not in that income bracket at all. Of course, you can opt for some non-Apple options like the Belkin secure holders at $11.95, but the idea is clear. AirTag is great with advanced precision tracking capabilities and seamless integration with Apple devices, but the accessories market is going to take an extra chunk from your wallet. So if you're in a tighter budget, the Chipotle OneSpot remains the more suitable alternative, most importantly with a more stomachable price overall. Next one, the one product I didn't care much about, and after the event I still don't care much about, the Apple TV 4K. There's a new version of it, yay. It has an upgraded A12 Bionic chip inside, which is indeed an upgrade from the A10X chip from the 2017 version of the Apple TV 4K. Because of the upgrade, Apple claims that it can provide higher frame rate for 4K HDR content from Apple Arcade, and normal operations like browsing and stuff should be smoother as well. It also added Thread support for the next generation of HomeKit devices, but should you care too much about it? Not really. I mean, Nanoleaf did announce that all the future products will feature Thread support, but having Thread right now is just about future-proofing yourself if you're really interested in diving into the smart home market. If not, then it doesn't mean much for you, really. But once again, let's take a little look at the A12 Bionic chip. I think it's important for us not to be mistaken or given the wrong impression that Apple is getting too serious about gaming and Apple Arcade. Apple has been very keen on telling their customers that they have brought in the support of Xbox Series X and S controllers and PS5 controllers in the latest tvOS update, but what Apple is actually saying is that they have no intention of developing an optimized controller for Apple Arcade on the Apple TV. There are other controller options on the Apple online store, but that doesn't mean much, really. If Apple is really serious about the gaming market, then they would have designed their own ergonomic and functional controller for the next generation of Apple TV. But at the very least, they have redesigned the Apple TV remote, so I guess that's just the bare minimum. They've taken a similar approach as the classic iPod, where the click wheel can be used to rewind and fast forward things, but then now the center button can also act as a touchscreen. And the Siri button has been moved to the side so it matches how you summon Siri using a side button of your iPhone, and that's the innovation, guys. It's just my verdict is that Apple TV is still this really weird product. It's more expensive than other streaming devices like Chromecast or Fire TV or Stick or Roku in the US, and based on the price you would expect Apple TV to do a lot more than right now, but then in reality, not really. Apple TV Plus is now available built-in to LG and Samsung smart TVs, so chances are you don't even need an Apple TV to watch Apple TV Plus. Oh, also, if you're really fancying the new Apple TV remote, it's available as a separate purchase from the Apple TV, so if you have an Apple TV 4K, there's literally no reason for you to get an upgrade. Yeah, it's like nothing happened during that part of the keynote. Why did Apple even bother? Now, enough of the depressing news that is the Apple TV 4K, let's move on to something way more exciting, and that is absolutely the all-new M1 iMac. A lot of rumors online have been speculative of Apple putting an upgraded M1X chip on the iMac, but then no, that's not the case. Apple just went with the same M1 chip that is found on the M1 MacBook Air and MacBook Pro and Mac Mini. But that is definitely not a huge problem. Apple is probably very confident that the M1 chip can handle all the things we're going to throw at it, and a better chip is simply not needed at this point. And as usual, Apple can just distract us from that discussion by introducing a completely new design for the iMac. This is the first Mac that Apple has designed from the ground up to suit the architecture of Apple Silicon. That means instead of just putting the M1 chip into the old designs of MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and Mac Mini, Apple can do something like this, making the side profile only 11.5mm thin. And without me saying it, we can see Apple has gone the extra mile to implement a lovely bunch of new colors: blue, green, pink, silver, yellow, orange, and purple. And these are daring colors. And there's nothing like just having a smartphone in a sharp red or blue color. The whole back of the iMac is of the vibrant color that you choose. Definitely, this is a nod to the classic iMac design, and I think I'll be even more stunned when I get to see the iMac in real life. And before I forget to mention, the new iMac comes with a 24-inch 4.5K Retina display, now with True Tone technology. Technically, it's 23.5 inches, but that's a detail we can neglect right now, because no matter you're comparing it to the old 1080p or 4K version, it's still definitely an upgrade from the old 21.5-inch iMac we had before. The one thing I never thought I'd be happy to talk about is the new Magic Keyboard. Without even digging into the features, we can just admire how the new keyboards are now color matched to the color of the iMac you buy. The new Magic Mouse has the same color matching treatment as well, but then the charging port is still at the weird spot at the bottom, so I'm going to skip ahead before I get infuriated. Moving swiftly on to the functions, the new Magic Keyboard now features keys for Spotlight, Dictation, Do Not Disturb, and Emoji, which suits more of how we use the Mac right now rather than 10 years ago. And most importantly, finally, Touch ID is available on this Magic Keyboard. Although you can, all these years, use your Apple Watch to unlock your Mac nearby, there's still a considerable delay compared to using Touch ID on the MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros. And now you can have the same sort of Touch ID experience on the iMac as well. And that's just lovely. Finally, the same lovely experience all across the board. The 24-inch iMac just seems like this beautiful thing that Apple has been teasing us about for the last 10 years, but there's still other things that we need to bear in mind. First thing, a minor thing, why is that chin still there? I don't know, it's 2021, I just can't elaborate anymore. The second thing is that the 27-inch model of the iMac with the Intel processors are still being sold right now. So if you're looking for something even larger than a 24-inch display, then I think you should just hold out and wait a little longer. Apple definitely has something up their sleeves. In my opinion, it might very well be a replacement or an equivalent of the recently discontinued iMac Pro. Now, I don't know how fast the processor will be, but at the very least, Apple has to figure out how to allow for more than 16GB of RAM on their Apple Silicon architecture. And when that happens, I know for sure that video editors, photographers, and other creative professionals will definitely rejoice. Now, onto the very last product of the event. This is one that I never thought would happen, and that is the new iPad Pro equipped with the same powerful M1 chip. Now, it is actually quite mind-boggling because first of all, I thought the M in M1 means Mac, but now the M1 chip is on the iPad Pro, so M doesn't mean Mac. I don't know. That's the first thing. But secondly, Apple's always wanted to emphasize how the iPad works much like a computer, and by equipping the newest iPad Pro with the same M1 chip found on the iMac, it is a bold move of telling the world that the iPad now features a desktop-class processor. It's a way to really shut people up and just tell the world that this iPad Pro can do real work. It also helps differentiate between the iPad Air and iPad Pro. They both run iPad OS, but then by naming their processors with a different letter, A versus M, it almost suggests that the iPad Air is more like an oversized iPhone or iPod Touch, whereas the iPad Pro is like the smallest, most portable Mac you can ever find. Despite these two iPads running the same iPad OS, they somehow serve fundamentally different purposes in terms of a user's workflow. To make matters even more complex, Apple has also introduced the Liquid Display XDR on the new iPad Pro, but only on the 12.9-inch model. The thing Apple did is that they added a new display technology called a Mini LED, and now the 12.9-inch model of the iPad Pro can display HDR content in its true light and colors. Instead of just the 500 nit display on the 11-inch iPad Pro, the display of the 12.9-inch iPad Pro now has a max brightness of 1000 nits, and at peak brightness when showing HDR content, it can go up to 1600 nits. And with all the amazing things that the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro can do, it now seems like the display of the 24-inch iMac is just quite subpar. I can either spend £999 on a 12.9-inch XDR display or £1249 on a 24-inch display that can't quite reproduce all the HDR colors. These are definitely things that I never want to choose between: the display quality and the display size. And before anyone wants to chime in, there's of course the Pro Display XDR, a 32-inch 6K display that can reproduce all the HDR colors and stuff. But of course that's not part of the comparison because not everyone can fork out $5,000 for a display and another $1,000 for a stand for a display. But all in all, thinking about how much better the display of an iPad Pro can be compared to that of a MacBook or iMac, it really tells you how far the iPad Pro has come all these years, and also how much iPad Pro is trying to replace a laptop. When the first generation of iPad Pro was out, it was just about how it had a bigger 12.9-inch display and also how it worked with Apple Pencil and the Smart Keyboard. But now, as the Apple Pencil and Smart Keyboard can also work with the baseline iPad and iPad Air, the iPad Pro is really geared towards creative professionals. One day, and I know that day will come, and I hope very soon, the Liquid Display XDR will come to the 11-inch iPad Pro as well. For me, that's just the perfect size for me to visualize my HDR content. And for now, I'm just going to hold back and wait for yet another generation of the iPad Pro. And this was my ultimate recap and review of Apple's April event, with the long-rumoured AirTag, a somewhat lacking update of the Apple TV 4K, the vibrant redesign of the M1 iMac, and also the absolutely stunning and powerful iPad Pro, now with the M1 chip and Liquid Display XDR. In the following months, we have two things to look forward to in the world of Apple. The official release of iOS 14.5 is scheduled for next week, and also WWDC 2021 in June. For now, do give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and watch some of my other videos featured right here. Thank you so much for your long-standing support, and with WWDC just on the horizon, I'll see you again real soon, right here at Future Reference.